Hello, my name is Juliana, and today I'll be presenting about the Nashville flood that happened in 2010. So what exactly happened? So during May 1st to the 2nd in 2010, Nashville received more than 13 inches of rainfall. So two-day rain totals in some areas were greater than 19 inches. Several rainfall records in the Nashville area were broken during this rain event. Flooding devastated areas throughout Nashville and surrounding counties, destroying businesses, homes. Floods from these areas affected the area for several days afterwards, resulting in a number of deaths and widespread property damage. A massive community response resulted in more than 25,000 volunteers, um, which is pretty amazing, which helped, again, the community to be rebuilt in a more timely fashion. So the timeline. From April 27th to the 30th, there was obviously the storm brewing. A powerful storm system began moving from the Pacific Northwest towards the central United States. This brought ideal conditions for heavy rainfall and thunderstorms in Tennessee. And then on April 29th, a warning was issued. The National Weather Forecasting released a warning of potential heavy rain and flooding. And then on April 30th is when the flash flood warning happened. This warning was mostly for the Sunday, mostly because they had seen that a lot of rain would be happening on that day. And then on May 1st, there was a flood advisory. The first flood warning happened, as well as the civil emergency message was made. Lastly, there were 5 dead on May 1st. This happened in the middle of Tennessee on the first day, and this included a young man named Joshua Lantrew, who was a 21-year-old. And then on May 2nd, there was a Cumberland River flood advisory, and then a flood stage was reached. So Nashville actually reached flood stage of over 40 feet, and then more than 600 water rescues are made in Davidson County over the course of the weekend. Again, that's where the rescues continued. There's a hydropower shutdown as well. So then on May 3rd, Cumberland River crests and the recovery begins. So there was a lot of shelters that were made in the middle of Tennessee. Around 2,000 people and an estimate of 9,000 people were without power. And then on May 4th, there was a disaster area. And May 5th, there was a Hands-On Nashville. Hands-On Nashville was a community-based program, which I'll speak more about in the later slides. And then about 2,773 businesses were impacted during this flood, as well as the almost close to 15,000 workers. So the response. The local response included, again, the thousands of civilian volunteers that signed up through the Hands-On Nashville and other organizations to help with this. Second Harvest Food Bank was also involved, and then Nashville Electric Services helped during this time. So between May 3rd and December 31st, there was more than 22,000 people who donated over 90,000 hours to the flood recovery and restoring efforts in more than 1,000 volunteer projects through the Hands-On Nashville alone. And then next we'll touch on the state and federal response. So some of the response that was made on the state level consisted of the OEM, American Red Cross, Metro Social Services, Metro Police, and then from the federal, there was FEMA, DIC, NWS, PHEP, mental health assistance. So these are only a few of the many state and federal responses that were made. And then the public health response, Metro Public Health Department improved a lot with the capacity to implement, to adapt to what was going on during that time. So the primary areas of focus were shelter support, community response, including providing tetanus vaccine, and environmental response. So this was a primary focus for improvement of Metro Public Health was to modify the MAS plan in collaboration with community partners. And then next we'll speak about the public health and ICS roles. One of the big ones, they improve the capacity to implement and sustain ICS during emergency events. Department of Professional Competence, knowledge, talents available within the MPHD in multiple subject areas, the ability to collaborate with other Metro departments and community partners, which includes the hands-on program that I mentioned earlier, and then creating those relationships within the community, which is made beforehand. They have a lot of community time or meeting time, again, with the hands-on and other programs, and then the demonstrated value and importance of behavioral health services to city's overall flood response. There was a lot of adaptability within the staff, like depending on the emergency as well. They were going to the places that were needed. So we'll talk about the community preparedness and resiliency. So how I mentioned earlier, the Nashville Food Project, actually the hands-on program. So this also includes the Nashville Food Project. So they worked on many other disaster reliefs. As you can see, it ranges all over 2007 all the way to 2019, I believe. So the city worked as one unit for the betterment of the entire city, not just their area. And kind of like I mentioned earlier, more than 25,000 people helped and volunteered to get the community back on its feet. There was a lot of transparency with the city's response and then a clear demonstration of their needs. The Nashville Food Project helped a lot with making sure individuals who did not have the means to get a good food, or they lost their homes and weren't able to do their own food, they were able to assist with that. And then the Emergency Community Hotline was activated by the OEM on Saturday, May 1st in 2010, because they saw there was an overwhelming request of public assistance, and just they had a lot of questions. So it was a nice way for individuals to call and get more information on that. And then there's also the Nashville Flood Digital History Project. So this was in a way for the community to come together to show what kind of they went through, kind of like their own story, any pictures, testimonies, and anybody in the community was able to upload their story, like I mentioned, pictures and anything like that. So I think this really helps with their resiliency. They're able to explain their hardships as well as, telling their story. And I feel that can really help a community grow and show that the way that they work together is the reason why they're doing so much better now, which is amazing. So I definitely feel that the community preparedness and the resiliency was there. The city had made a project that had been able to help with other disasters that had happened in the area as well. A major strength was the willingness of the employees, the neighbors, to just help with any way they could, regardless of what job title they had at that time, which shows a lot. And then, my bad. So the next one is the changes to post-disaster. So one of the main ones that were made was to make modifications to the MAS plan to improve clarity of process for opening and triaging clients, collaborating closely with the OEM, American Red Cross, Metro Services, Hands on Nashville, and other key community partners. And then to continue to expand and strengthen community partnerships, be prepared in advance with information regarding communicable diseases that are or are not at risk for flood events. I feel that's really important. There may be individuals who have never lived in Nashville before or in an area that floods are prone to happen. So it's really important for the community and other individuals who just moved in to know what diseases and what other things to look out for. And as well, the biggest thing with all of this is the information that's given in like the languages that they're able to get it from. There may be individuals who only speak Spanish, who speak French, who speak other languages, and there should be a website or a place that has this information. When I was doing a lot of this research, there wasn't many information that was given in other languages. There may have been a Spanish reference page, but other than that, there was not a big section for that and any other information. And then here are some of my references.